Today, I want to share something that could potentially shift the way that you approach your health in midlife. I'd like to talk to you about the connection between stress and metabolism or your metabolic health, and why understanding this link can be the key to unlocking your energy, your balance, and your vitality. Hi there, I'm Sharlene Stiles. I'm a holistic life coach, metabolic mentor, and metabolic mechanic for women who are done feeling fat, feeling foggy, and feeling fatigued. So, if you feel like you've been doing all the right things, like you've been eating better, moving your body, and maybe even counting macros or doing all the meditations, but still feel exhausted, heavier, and just not quite yourself, I want you to know this: it's not your fault, and you are certainly not alone. I'd like to introduce you to this connection between stress and our metabolism. So let's start what stress does in the body. I'm sure you've already felt it or noticed it yourself, but let's look at it from a biological perspective. So when we're under pressure, whether it's a deadline that's coming or family demands or bills that are due or just the mental load that we carry of just being a human and being alive, our body can go into flight or fight mode. And that is just a surge of cortisol, which is our primary stress hormone. Now, cortisol, of course, isn't bad. It can keep us safe, it can keep us protected, but it can keep us also in this state of alertness, and it helps us to respond to the impeding threat that we deem. So threats can be imagined, perceived, or real. Our brain can't distinguish between them. So when stress becomes chronic and we're constantly in this state, and this is for most of us, the state in which we operate, that it stays elevated. And that's when cortisol begins to really wreak havoc on our entire systems. So, what that can look like is fat storage increases, particularly around the midsection, around the belly. Our muscle starts to break down, sleep becomes impaired, our cravings, particularly for carbohydrates and sweets, increase, our blood sugar becomes unstable, and our metabolism begins to slow down. So in midlife, combine this with hormonal changes as a female, like the drops in estrogen and progesterone, and then our body becomes even more sensitive to stress. So this is why what used to work may not feel like it's not doing the same thing or having the same impact anymore. So this isn't about willpower. It really is about our biology. Now, the next step is the signs that affect our our metabolism. So, how we know if stress is actually making an impact on our metabolism. How do you know that stress is playing this role on your metabolic health? There are a few signs that you can look for. The first one is if you are gaining weight, particularly around the belly, around the midsection, even though not much else has changed. That may be an indication. If you're feeling exhausted, even after you've had a good night's sleep, you wake up feeling tired and fatigued and not rested, that may be another sign. If you're having cravings, like we talked about, for high sugar foods or carbohydrates, especially when you're overwhelmed or you need fuel to keep going throughout your day, this could be another sign. Or if you're experiencing mood swings, irritability, or this constant low level of agitation or anxiety, these can all be familiar kinds of complaints and an indication for us to consider the level of cortisol that's circulating in your system. So this is just, these symptoms are a way of our body communicating with us. Our body uses symptoms because it can't use words. So this is our body's way of saying, hello, hi, I need some support here. Pay attention to me. It's waving its flag. So just first of all, recognizing these signs is really a great first step to feeling like ourselves again. The next step is, what can we actually do about it when we notice these signs and of being uncomfortable or our body's trying to get our attention? So what do we do now? There's a few things that we can start with. First is being mindful. So incorporating moments of presence, of deep breathing, changing the internal terrain of our nervous system, calming the sympathetic nervous system and getting into the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest. And we can do that with breath. That's one thing that we can control. We can take some time to clear our mind, to still our mind and have a single point of focus, whether you call that meditation or just a pause, going outside in nature and focusing on something very, neutral, looking at water, looking at birds, at trees, going for a walk, even in nature. I find personally that's so helpful for me. So even just 5 minutes of a simple pause or a break can be really make all that amount of difference. The other thing we can do, of course, as a nutritionist, I need to talk about nutrition, and not that I need to, it's absolutely essential. So if we're focusing on real whole foods in their natural state, that is a great place to start. So thinking about all the macronutrients, high quality proteins, high quality fats, and complex carbohydrates that have fiber, these foods combined together will help regulate and stabilize our blood sugar and hence our insulin and our blood sugar crashes. So moods and also the blood sugar variations and the swings can be another physical stress to the body. So that's something we want to mitigate, and we can do that through nutrition. The other thing that we can do is moving our bodies in a way that feels good and not punishing ourselves. So it doesn't have to be high intensity. In fact, too much intensity or too much movement or strength training too extremely can actually add more stress. When we think about what weightlifting does or strength training does, it creates an acute stressor. It's micro tears to muscles. So our muscles have to break down, and then they repair and heal stronger and bigger, right? So too much of something when you're in a chronic stress mode, particularly of high intensity exercise or heavy weightlifting, can be too much. So it's really dependent on each person. So looking at things like walking, strength training, but in a mindful and manageable way, and even stretching can be super helpful. So things like yoga, what my favorite is these days are somatic movements. These are very gentle, like it seems like you're not doing anything kind of movements, but it's really helpful for regulating the nervous system. I can link up here. I do some live in-person events using somatic exercises because of the sheer amount of benefits and how helpful it is for the nervous system. So if you're in the Niagara area, please connect with me and check back and see if there's any upcoming live somatic classes for you. Although you don't have to do them with me. There are tons of free resources and paid resources on the internet. But I invite you to come and visit me in Niagara if that works for you. Of course, we cannot talk about stress and metabolism if we don't address the topic of sleep. This is when our body heals and repairs, and how vital it is for us to prioritize rest and sleep. So creating a calming environment, perhaps even a bedtime routine to wind down. It's really hard when we're going 100 miles an hour. Imagine you're a Ferrari or a Lambo going 100 miles an hour, and then you just slam on the brakes, and then you're expected to stop instantaneously. Our bodies don't work that way either. We need to kind of wind down and, if you will, invoke this invitation like seduction into relaxation, get the mind prepared for what's coming next. So having a nice bedtime routine, creating an environment that invokes relaxation, soft lighting, dim lighting, candlelight, soft music, turning off overhead lights, getting rid of screens. These are all ways to entice our body and invite it into what the next stage is, foreplay, if you will, for a solid night of rest. So if you're ready to stop guessing and truly start feeling better, this is where I may be able to come in and support you. I do have a signature program. I call it Master Your Metabolism, Master Your Metabolism. I work with you one-on-one, and it's specifically for women who want, and I work with men too, but predominantly women who want personalized support, want a clear and doable strategy, and someone who gets it and who has their back. So together we work on supporting your body, your life from the inside out in a holistic perspective. So we focus on nutrition, hormones, metabolic function, stress, movement, and yes, real life. So this is not about perfection. This is about progress, making small, consistent changes that can be sustainable for life so that you have energy and a body that you love from the inside out for life. So if you're curious or you're ready, stick around, subscribe to the channel, or I invite you to have a chat with me. I offer complimentary 30-minute calls where we can chat, or feel free to poke around and see if there's anything else here that may be of benefit to you. And if not, I'd love for you to subscribe and stick around to see what else is coming next and support your nervous system the best way possible. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and bye for now.